Hello. Hello, and good afternoon, everyone. It's time for some live stream pop-up art studio. Welcome, everyone. My name is Mary Kronert, and I'm here on behalf of the Living Room Community Art Studio. This is a little live stream virtual art studio we've been doing every Wednesday for the last, It's over a year and a half now we've been doing this, since we can't come together to connect and create with one another in person. So we've become a little used to this gathering place, this online gathering place, and it's become a safe haven for me too. So if you are out there and you need a little living room community art studio time, come and get it. I'm here for the next hour and a half. I'm going to be making some stuff and chatting with community members. And hello, Courtney, and welcoming folks as I see them pop up in the chat. Just a note, if you're out there and you're watching or listening and I don't say hello, it's only because I can't see you. And I know I can't see you in this kind of live stream. Hello, Nicole. But what happens with Facebook, at least for where I'm sitting here on my end, I can only see and know you're watching if you participate in the chat. So please feel free to say hello. You can connect with other people, catch up with community members, ask me questions, let me know what you're working on, all of those wonderful things through that chat. But if you don't feel like participating or being seen in that way, it's perfectly fine just to sit at home, wherever you might be, and listen or watch. You can make art along with me if you like. If you have some materials on hand, you might even have similar materials to me. So you can maybe even do the same activity that I'll be working on. But if not, you're welcome to work on whatever creative endeavor feels right to you, whatever is inspiring you, or perhaps you have some projects that have been lying around that you'd like to get back to finish up. Perhaps there is something new you'd like to try. Take a creative risk in this hour and a half we share together. A perfect time. I give you permission to create whatever you want to create, whatever you need to create, whatever helps you feel good, or perhaps makes you feel better. Good morning, I was going to say, but it's good afternoon. Good afternoon, Sandra. Welcome to the Pop-Up Art Studio. It's so good to see you here. And folks, if you feel like chatting again, feel free. Say hello to one another. You can welcome one another to the space, but if you see folks watching, let them make the first move to join the chat in case they want to be, in the background, just appreciating and enjoying and contributing in whatever way they feel best to do that. I'm going to leave a lot of dangling sentences today. I feel like it's that kind of day. But Courtney, Nicole, Sandra, so nice that you're here watching, and I'll continue to welcome people as I see you come up. If there's a bit of a lag, be patient. Sometimes I see things a little slower than you do at home because there's a little bit of a lag in the camera situation here. But again, everyone is welcome, whether you're chatting or watching or listening. I'm so glad you're here. If you're creating, wonderful. Perhaps you need to do something else in your day that is creative in a different kind of way. Hello, Brandon. Oh my goodness, how's farm life treating you? And Courtney says, oh, hey, Mary, what's the name of that Indigenous advocate you mentioned on Tuesday morning? Oh, you know what, Courtney? I'll get to that in a moment. That's fantastic. Thanks for reminding me, because this is a wonderful resource for everyone. Daniel Crossmas is his name, and he sits on the diversity committee for Oshawa, and he was a regular community contributor at the studio, a fantastic artist, and he's always open to helping people learn more, to being a bridge between worlds, to providing educational opportunities if necessary. It's always good to check in, though, and whenever people can, I do encourage them to show that appreciation and some kind of support as well. The knowledge that people share is definitely of value, and I think it's important to find ways to show folks that we value what they contribute, and Daniel is one of those folks in the community indeed. But yes, welcome back, everyone. And just to finish up that one last dangling thought, if you are working on something else, perhaps it's not an art project, but maybe you've got laundry to do or dishes to wash, or I don't know, I'm trying to think of Brandon out on your farm. What might you be doing on a day like today? I don't know, hanging out with goats? That's probably not what you're doing. I know you do a whole lot more out there, but whatever feels right to you, whatever helps you have your best day, your best afternoon, it's all good. It's all good. And we can share that space together and have a little taste of that community connection, if you like. Yes, so Courtney was just asking about Daniel Crossmas, who is an extraordinary resource in the community. At least the living room we found him to be. You can find him on Facebook as well and on Instagram, I think. But Facebook might be the best place to find him these days. Or you can contact the Diversity Committee of Durham, of Oshawa, and maybe it's Durham Region as well. Well, I'll have to get back to you on that, Courtney. If someone else out there knows this, feel free to paste it in the chat. And then there's also another fantastic resource that is now free to everyone, or maybe perhaps it always was. Durham's Indigenous Voices is a fantastic, it was not a webinar, it was a Zoom kind of a series of people coming together, Indigenous individuals and community elders, leaders, change makers, all of these fantastic resources coming together to explore different themes. And they had, I think it was a 4-week series where they did this. And now they have documented the live streams so that we can listen to them after the fact. So look up Durham Indigenous Voices, or perhaps Indigenous Voices of Durham Region, and you should find access to that fantastic speaking series, which is just loaded with wonderfulness. And Courtney was wondering if Brandon was milking cows, but Brandon's saying, no, I was hanging out with the goats earlier. Haha, okay. Oh no, but Brandon hurt your back, so you're taking it easy today. Oh, some bookkeeping. So if that's taking it easy, I'd prefer to hang out with the goats and do some labor, but I hear what you're saying. I hope you feel better soon. I hope you feel better soon, Brandon. All the images you've been sharing through, what's that? Is it Tarn? The Tarn? Is that your Instagram account for your farm? I have to let you know that they have been so uplifting and so inspiring, just so refreshing and joyful to see and to experience through you, to live a little bit in your world through that Instagram account. Folks, if you need a little vacation, a little social media break, visit the Tarn. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, but it's just such a lovely world to step into, if only virtually. So thank you for sharing all of that, Brandon. And Laura is here too. Laura, afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Laura. Welcome. And Carlos says, howdy, y'all. Thanks for sharing these resources, Mary. Oh, thank you, Carlos. Thank you for being here and being awesome. And Simone says, what's up, everyone? I'm starting with a spiral today. I was going to do that too. Just came across a beach scene sketch I started in the book I'm using that I forgot about. Might work on it. Holding the intention to embrace the work in progress mentality. I think all of us can do a little bit of that today. No perfection allowed. We can just be where we're at, allow things to unfold in the way they want to unfold, perhaps in the way they need to unfold. Take breaks when necessary, just to let ourselves refuel, step back, just to recalculate or recalibrate. Because again, in this time of transition, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling that pressure building up again to kind of fall back into old routines and things like that. And not always helpful. I need to, in those moments where I feel myself getting caught back up in that again, because it's not a good feeling, so that is good information for me, I need to kind of pull back, step back, take a breath, and reground myself. So I think, like Simone, I'm going to be starting with the spiral today just to ground myself, play with line and color. And then I'll move on to, I think, some knot making, some macrame stuff. For folks who are new to the live stream, every once in a while I experiment. Well, let's be honest, every week is an experiment here. Every week is some kind of creative adventure. Some adventures work out a little more effectively than others, let's say. And again, everything is always a work in progress. So just because I start something today doesn't mean that I'll finish it. And I offer and extend that to you too. You can start something today if you like. Doesn't mean you have to finish it. Don't feel the pressure to get it all done. This isn't a workshop. It's not a class. It's just some time that we can share with one another and create, right? So be gentle with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself as much as you can. And if you need help with that, let me know. Or reach out to the community and let them know too, right? And Joe, hello, Joe. And Joe says hello to everyone. And Courtney's saying, Carlos, how the heck are you? So, oh, lovely folks catching up already. And Courtney saying, hope Carlos is well. And please take note, again, if you are chatting with someone, Folks might be jumping into the live stream and maybe out of the live stream, depending on where they are or what they're doing. You're welcome to stay for the whole hour and a half if you like. But if all you can do is spend a few minutes here or there, that's okay too. And if you want to come back to the live stream after it is wrapped up and finished, it remains on our Facebook page, archived for everyone to watch. I just might not be able to respond to you in the same way I do here with folks who are commenting. So if it's after 3:30 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon and you say hello, I might not be able to get back to you right away. So just note that I'm not there with you after that time period. But for right now, I am. So let's have some fun and get making. Let's see. And Joe saying, I put up a beautiful poem I wrote on the tree in front of my house. What a beautiful idea. And put a sign below it that says, The Poet Tree. Many people have seen it and love it, brought positivity to the neighborhood. Joe, that is, what a wonderful idea. That is what I'm talking about, folks. Creative community in action. You don't need anybody's permission to try wonderful things like that, to experiment with creative social engagement in your own neighborhood. Yeah, we might not have the art hive in the same way that we did before, but people over this time period have been finding ways to create their own art hives in various shapes and sizes, in various places and ways. And sometimes it's as simple, and I say simple, but I recognize that that might have also been a very courageous thing to do, to take one of your poems, one of your creations, and display it in such a beautiful public way. But I adore that, Joe. I adore that. And I'm curious to see how folks have been responding. Maybe, do you think someone else might ever think of adding their own poem alongside yours? Perhaps it will become a beautiful tree hanging with beautiful poems. Gosh, I love that idea. And Nicole says, I watched a show where they mentioned goat yoga a few months ago. I didn't realize it was a real thing until I saw an ad for it. Absolutely, absolutely. And there's actually, I think, not so far from where we are, anyways, in Oshawa, and out Trenton way. I know of some folks who do some goat yoga there. And the last time some friends went out there, I don't know how much yoga they accomplished, but they ended up just hanging out with the goats and loving every second of it. And I think that the spiritual aspects of the yoga and movement and breathing and laughing, all of those lovely things, they received the same kind of physical and spiritual rejuvenation, mindfulness rejuvenation that they would have from a full yoga class. But I think it was a little more fun. Yeah. And Joe's saying, I'm back. I was just wondering, Joe, if you think people might add their own poems to your tree. That would be, it's a lovely experiment, a lovely adventure. It's always interesting to see what happens when we put our creativity out there in the world and see how, without expectation, because we can't tell. We don't always know how people will respond. So I think if it can be done as a gesture, like an open gesture, one that pleases our, just starts with the pleasure it gives us, without expectation necessarily of anyone else reacting or responding, or perhaps even receiving pleasure from it in the same way we did. It's always fascinating to see what happens to that creative seed, how it grows, how it develops. Actually, for folks that are interested, I want to tell you in a little bit about a project I'm going to be doing, that the Living Room's going to be doing at the Backdoor Mission on the 22nd. Because if there are folks listening or folks out there who know people in that neighborhood, or know perhaps you yourself have been making use of the wonderful services that the Backdoor Mission, also known as Mission United, provides for the community, then you can help spread the word about this lovely art day we're going to be having there very soon. And I'm looking, Laura says there's just one a goat yoga place north of Port Hope. My sister went minimal yoga, lots of goat fun. And that's, it's worth it. it's worth it. I wonder if the Tarn might be considering some goat yoga in the future. Or just some goat socialization. I feel like there's a lot we can learn from just hanging out with goats. All animals are great teachers, but to be able to shake it up every once in a while by spending time with an animal we don't normally spend time with, such a beautiful thing. And I'm just doing my spiral. In fact, I'm going to broaden it out. I'm going to let my spiral loosen up a little bit today, because I'm going to come back in afterwards with some color. And if you're working on a spiral at home as well, just allow yourself to let those lines happen. If you can, be in a place where you can let your breathing slow and keep pace with the line that your hand is drawing. You don't have to work too hard at breathing. Our bodies are generally pretty good at doing it on its own. Sometimes if I think about it too much, things get a little wonky. So I just have to remind myself that my body knows how to breathe. It's going to be okay. But making space for that breathing space, just to feel it in your body, can be so powerful. Just your regular old breathing, doing what it knows how to do. Fueling your body, helping you do what you do best. And there have been a lot of like spiral kind of conversations in my life lately. And exploring metaphors involving spirals, and exploring art that is built out of circling, things rounding one another in some way or other. And it's a beautiful kind of thing to deal with. And let's see. Oh, we're getting updates. Lovely. So Nicole's saying, one of my favorite shows ended today. Oh, I'm sorry. But a new Canadian show, Surreal Estate, starts on Friday, and I'm so excited. Nicole, the biggest fan of Canadian content ever. Nicole, maybe one day you can get a job at, what is it, the CRC? Somewhere where you can help regulate Canadian programming and shine a light and boost all the wonderful stuff that's coming out of Canada. I feel like somehow your commitment to the craft of Canadian content, film, music, all of it, TV, I feel like there's something out there waiting for you. I don't know. I know, but it's always sad when a show you love ends, when it wraps up and you have to wait a whole other season, or sometimes when that's it ends. And that's, you know that you have this finite thing, like reading a good series of books and you get to the last page and you know this is the final book in the series and you've spent so much time with these characters that feel like friends somehow. It's always, there's a bittersweetness to it, isn't there? But I'm glad you found something new. And Joe says, Barb has all these inspirational thoughts that I'll change on occasion. Because it's on my property, it will be best just as us. It would deter graffiti or damage to the tree or my garden, if that makes sense. I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. But I love that it's still something that is open for the community to appreciate. Because that appreciation, at least in my mind, appreciation is still a creative exchange. I think sometimes we forget that. It's not always, again, about making things. Appreciation, a huge element of the work all creatives do, the work that community does. Oh, folks, my favorite paintbrush. I feel like my relationship with it has changed today. It feels different somehow. I'm going to put that aside. Let me find another brush to do this. There we go. Let's try this one. Yeah, creativity as appreciation. I think something to explore. Any musicians out there, any performers of any kind, I think can speak to that. The importance of the audience, of that other contributor, the unnamed contributor, that without that contribution, it's just not the same. And Brandon, just on the thought of goat yoga, they've considered it. Brandon says they're very friendly and love visitors. Well, we'll keep an eye out there and see. And let's see, Nicole saying, Mary, one week could you show us how your camera is set up? I'm just curious to see how you can have two going at the same time. Well, should I do a little bit of that right now? I mean, what we need, I'm not a tech wizard by any means, and technology, figuring everything out definitely taxes my brain, and I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without Anthony Granny, who's kind of like a secret founder of the living room, I think, or not so secret founder. But what I'm going to do, I'll just tip this to show you. Now, I have a little bit, you don't need as much fancy stuff as I have. I have some lights set up in here. I have one of my microphones here, because if folks forget, because I also do work, I'm also an actor, so I have some equipment that other folks might not have because I do self-tapes for auditions and things like that, film or TV auditions, but also voice auditions. So I have some equipment that people might not have to have at home. You don't have to have the same kind of stuff as I do, but you know what I'm going to do? Hopefully it won't. I'm just going to tilt this up a little bit and then we'll reset. Okay? And Joe's saying chicken yoga. And Brandon's saying, I think chickens would run away from strangers. They aren't quite as socialized as the goats. That is true. And oh, Diane, okay, oh, I've got to this side before I tip the camera up. Let's see, Dan also saying the audience is a huge contributor. Hello, Dan. It's so good to have you here. And it's true, I think, because Dan, you're a musician, you understand this more like perhaps than other folks who don't engage as frequently in that way. There's a certain something that they give. There's a responsiveness. And on stage or, you know, as you're sharing, you're not always aware of how things manifest, how you feed back and respond to one another. It is something that it's hard to qualify and quantify, but it does happen. If you're performing or sharing space with one person, it's very different than sharing space with a dozen people, 100 people. But I think all of us can relate to that. If you've ever seen theater, ever sat in the audience of a concert of someone you love, there is this remarkable, it's something new is created in that moment with that person who is appreciating, with that energy exchange that occurs. In a classroom with a teacher, I think teachers and students understand it as well. Anytime something is shared, and even with visual art or things that don't necessarily involve the artist in the same way. I think I was reading something the other day about this exact thing with artwork and something that happens when it is shared with the world and released to the world. Because everything that I might put into an art piece, for example, it shifts and changes once it's shared with everyone. I don't necessarily have control over how people interpret it, what they take away from it. And unless I was standing there right beside it every day, telling everyone about it as they came up to view it, you can't do that. Some artists, a lot of artists, don't want to do that. And an artist statement only goes so far. So again, there is this evolution, this growth that happens once we release what we do into the world. It's a beautiful thing. It's extraordinary. And Sandra says, where is my coffee mug? My coffee mug is here. Yes, and I have it set aside far from my water so that this time I don't wash my paintbrush in my coffee mug. Lesson learned. It happened once. It might happen again. I'm not going to lie. But, you know, we do what we can. Oh, and Nicole says, have you been in commercials or movies, Mary? I have. And Joe's saying, gotta run. Take care, everyone. You too, Joe. Thank you for joining. I have, as a Canadian actor, if anyone out there is a Canadian actor or knows Canadian actors, it's a very strange and interesting world. But yes, I have. You can even visit my IMDb page. I even have one of those to find out what other films. And there is a movie that has just been sort of, what was he saying? Shared globally. It's available for rent globally now, where I think it was only available in North America. There's a few films that I've done, TV series. Nothing in a few years. It's been, the pandemic hasn't helped, I have to say. But once a performer, always a performer. It's something that is a part of who I am. It informs everything that I do. And although there was a time when I tried to stop being an actor and do, like a real job, a real serious job, I realized I couldn't. It's so much a part of who I am and what I do, that it was just inauthentic to not have it be a part of my being. And moving forward with the mobile art studio, I'm hoping there will be more opportunities for performance-oriented collaborations. Aren't exactly the right, doesn't capture it precisely, but I'm trying to think of art outside of the box. I'm trying to think of art creation as something more than just painting a picture, more like creative exchanges with the community, research, art-based research, where we explore and have dialogue in really interesting ways. And hopefully some of them will involve performance or aspects of performance. I'd love to write some plays with community. I'd love to read some plays with community, or perform poetry, things like that. So, Nikki, everything's on the table. And Nicole's saying, I'm just trying to make a jacket. Hello, Nikki. If I didn't say hello, hello. Nicole's saying, I'm trying to make a jacket for something that's several years old. Unfortunately, I used up the original pants yarn, so it's not quite going to match. It just adds to the appeal. I think so, right? I think there's, little room for improvisation there. Oh, these inner circles of the spiral are interesting to color. And Brandon's saying, I'm glad you didn't put yourself in a box. The box of just the trick of the one thing, the one career, one way of being in the world. Yeah. It's not always an easy path. And there are very difficult days. Anyone who lives in this world, with the foot, I have 2 feet, and I'd say a foot in both worlds, but I think sometimes it feels like a game of Twister, where I just have hands and feet in different feet. Yeah, why not? In different worlds. Because I made a decision a while ago that if it had to be a choice between absolute stability and a kind of unhappiness when choosing a career path or a work path, that I'd prefer happiness. We all need to make a living, and sometimes that's the difficult part. So finding a balance between those things can be a challenge sometimes. But I think everything that I love to do has to do something to do with storytelling. So there is common ground between all the things I love. And if I have an honest relationship with those different pursuits and know what I need and learn how to ask for what I need, take time to identify what I need along the way, then I can't go wrong. I may not have as much fancy stuff. There's lots of things like that I might, I'll have to save up for. I won't have a lot of, disposable income, I suppose, is one way of putting it. But I think that quality of satisfaction that I have in my life and what I'm pursuing, the artistry of it all, I suppose. And that's something I think everyone can relate to, regardless of what career path you've chosen and the different things that you do. And hello, Lottie. Lottie says hello to everyone. My mom and I enjoy watching Air Crash Investigation, or Mayday, overseas. And we were watching an episode the other day, and I was like, that's Mary. She's flying the plane. That, Lottie, yep, that's right. It's funny. I did an episode of what we call Mayday here in North America, but in the UK it's called Air Crash Investigations, playing a real life person who died tragically, although, in this, in a plane crash that actually helped change a lot in the world of aviation. So every horrifying tragedy like that tends to introduce a lot of wonderful stuff. But yep, that was me. And you know what's funny about that? I've done a whole bunch of stuff, but that is the thing I feel most people recognize me for. It's so funny. That series has featured so many amazing Canadian actors, and it's something we all tend to get recognized for most frequently, more than anything else, more than any, award-winning this or whatever that. Mayday. That's funny. And Courtney is asking, oh, acting workshops. So you know what? I would love to do that. And Nikki's saying, love seeing you again. I love seeing you too. I was just talking about you this morning too, Nikki. And Nicole says, big news, got my hair cut. Congratulations, Nicole. Congratulations. We can do that again now. We can go to salons. We can go to our stylists, the people who take care of the fur on our heads. I think I need to go. I'm in line for a bit of that. And Laura says, we are so excited for the mobile living room community art studio. Emily says hello. Hello. Hello, Emily. How are you? Emily joined us for our virtual art hive the other day, and it was so much fun having you there, Emily. I loved it. So creative. Such an inspiration. And I can't wait for it as well. I think we're going to be releasing a little update video soon, probably next week, about where things are at. So keep an eye out. Anthony and I were under the bus yesterday trying to remove seats to get a jump on it before it goes into conversion. That's fun. But we will need, I'm afraid, the help of professionals at some point. So we're going to be taking into the fine folks at PK Vans, who have been very kind and very patient with us and walking us along the process of what needs to be done to create a safe vehicle for us and for the living room and the community. And Wendy's saying, hi, I was running behind today. Well, I'm glad you're here. You're not running behind. You're exactly where you're meant to be. Thank you so much for joining us, Wendy. And that's for everyone and anyone who might be joining the live stream a little late, or perhaps you can only stay for a few minutes. That's okay. That's okay. I'm glad you're here. All the same. And if you can't stay and you want to come back, you always can. And of course, as I was mentioning at the beginning, this will be archived. So if you want to keep up with what we've been doing, you can tune in later to watch and catch up on all the creativity in the community chat. Something really awesome about a spiral, and I always forget. How involving it can be. A beautiful process. It's an exercise that I love. It's all about grounding, so why would I want to rush it? Let's see. So I might set this aside before it's finished. We'll find, you know what? We'll see how it goes. And Simone's saying, oh my goodness, I so appreciate this discussion. I think artists, especially small business owners, can struggle with this. You don't have to just make things you're good at. It's such an important conversation to have, or be things that you're good at. Like, that's, I think, I work like with a lot of the youth that I've worked with over time. A lot of the anxiety people face as students is this pressure to feel like you have to choose the thing you're going to be for the rest of your life. As if you make a mistake now or you change your mind, there's this huge, it's like it will be a mistake. When truly, I think most of us, as we move through life, obviously learn and grow and discover new things we love, or new ways of applying the thing that we might have loved or trained in. And there are opportunities for everything. And there's possibilities to be more than one thing, even at the same time. Us human beings are pretty brilliant, pretty resourceful, pretty resilient. And we can find ways to do what we love. We can find ways to include all the things that we love. Even if, again, that conversation about you might be an artist, you might not be a professional artist, but that doesn't mean that you don't create. It doesn't mean that creating doesn't have to be or can, it can be a large part of your life as you're working on or doing other things. And I think sometimes if we rob ourselves of those opportunities, it will hurt our hearts. It'll hurt many things in our lives. It's limiting ourselves for the sake of what? Of something else, someone else, some ideas of someone's expectations of us. And Nikki's saying, goodness, talking about me with whom? Oh, yes. I was thinking how I hadn't seen or heard you in a while, and there's so many people in the community that I miss catching up with and knowing about, what they're doing. I would love those days where you'd come into the studio and you'd sit and you'd create, and you'd always open to sharing your creativity with other people in the community, which is a gift of the Art Hive. It's one of the things I love about the Art Hive. And one of the things that keeps the Art Hive sustainable as well, because it's not just about one person. It's not just about one way of doing things. It's not just about one teacher, I think each of us can be a resource to one another. And Nikki, you are certainly that for so many people. So yes, for a lot of folks out there, know that you are in my thoughts. You're in my thoughts. And I think about the studio, I think about this virtual studio here and all the people that I've encountered. And you contribute here and you contribute to the community, but you enrich my life also. There's moments where I might have what would Lottie do? What would Nicole do? What would Nikki do? What would Prin do? What would Carlos do? What would Dan do? All these little moments in my mind where I think in certain situations, how would they create? How would they create out of this situation? How would they examine this issue or this problem or have this discussion? You're all a part of my brain now. And Brandon's saying, I'd love to help with the bus. It's too bad I'm so far away now. Oh, Brandon, well, there's still hope. There's still hope of that. We're having some essential stuff done. Like PK's going to be helping with some kind of, the stuff that they're really good at. So some metal fabrication, perhaps to create some bases for shelving. They're going to be working on some electrics for us, some just ensuring that we can, like some power, some batteries, battery inverters stuff for the bus, and incorporating it in a way that's safe and manageable for us. But there's still, this is a work in, the mobile art studio is definitely a work in progress. And because we are behind schedule, because the pandemic has, and you know what, it's maybe not such a bad thing. Like everything is, yes, behind schedule, but that slowing down again has meant that we're able to perhaps think of things that we wouldn't have if we'd been able to just rush into it. We've discovered other things that we might be able to do with the bus that have altered our initial design plans. So there's going to be things that we still need to do and want the community to help out if they can, when they can. And once we get it safe, like road safe and road ready and insured, then we can drive it to people in places where perhaps community can contribute in those ways. Like having we're going to approach some folks down the street to see if they can help us remove the seats in the bus this weekend. Like we might be getting to know our neighbors in a whole new way. But you know what, if we can't, PK can help with that too. Oopsie. Hello watercolor splotches. And Courtney says, I hear you, Mary. I am a PSW who wants to become a peer-to-peer support worker and a life coach, so there is no limit to learning. Oh my gosh, no limit to learning at all. Like, it's one of the things I actually love living in, like here in Durham region anyways. We have so many universities, so many colleges, so many, and now online, of course, as well, there's so many ways to learn. There's so many ways to do distance learning, ways that weren't available when I first, did that thing you were supposed to do when you graduate high school and go to university or go to college. There's so many new ways of learning and growing and, discovering our path or creating our path. And I think a lot of the skills that we build over time complement one another. You're not always aware of how when you're in the process of learning those things. But I met one of my old SSW students the other day, for example, when I was out having a coffee, and they said now they have a wonderful job right now as an SSW, but along the way they realized and discovered that they actually are really drawn to a career in the trades, and she's becoming a plumber. That made me so happy, even though she was saying the conversations with her parents were interesting because her, this idea of, well, you went to school to train as a social service worker, like how will you use those skills as a plumber? And all I could think of was like, how wouldn't you use those skills as a plumber? Working with people who are perhaps in stress about what's going on in their space, their private spaces. Maybe you'll be able to provide, communicate more effectively, communicate in ways that help not only calm and soothe them in this moment of stress, but help educate them about what's happening, and perhaps even provide information about how they can prevent things like happening in the, further. Perhaps, all of those skills will make you more engaging, the person that someone wants to call back into their home. So again, not a waste, like never a waste. What we learn is never a waste. And Brandon says, totally agree. I'm never happier than when I'm inspired to create something. So is this, again, Brandon, you are a perfect example of this as well. You do so many, so many different things. You practice so many things. But again, they all complement one another. And the creativity that you possess when you're working on art, whether it's, working with glass or working with wood or natural elements in the garden, they feed into one another, don't they? I can look at your glass work. I can look at your metal work. Oh, that fantastic lamp that you made for our secret arts sale. I love that. I think Derek Giberson purchased that in the end. But you see all the elements interacting with one another in your artwork. There's a kind of organic flow and natural shape to things, even when the materials used to create them aren't necessarily ones that we consider natural. They all have a conversation with one another. And I'm sure, the creativity feeds into the other work you do as well. And Dan Walters saying, love it. Each of us can be a resource to one another. Of course, right? Sometimes it's just about being aware of that possibility in the first place, right? That we have agency. That I think sometimes we forget. Well, like, again, I can use the acting stuff as a resource. As an example, I forget all the things that I've acted in. So when someone asks me, what have you done? There's a whole bunch of stuff that always leaves my mind. I might remember one or two things up front, but I forget. And I think each one of us, because it's our own life, it's our own experience, it's easy to misplace the value in who we are and what we've done, to forget what we know and how we've come to know it. And it's surprising sometimes to recognize that, oh wait, someone wants to know what I know. Someone wants to learn more about how I do things, or who I am, what my story is. But that's what makes life interesting, right? That's what helps us stay connected and engaged with one another. That each one of our lives is unique enough to be of value to someone else who might be questioning things or wanting to learn something that you can't necessarily learn in a book or in a classroom. Again, there are ways of transferring knowledge that aren't always, they're not necessarily traditional, or at least traditional within the current systems we work within. And Carlos says, I agree also. This is about, again, that it's kind of the weight that is often put upon any learner. It doesn't matter what age you are, really. The learner's shoulders about decide what you want to be. Carlos says that pressure to decide and lock into what we want to be as an adult when we're children sucks. And I think that's true. I agree. Thankfully, I floundered and fumbled through what I wanted to do. I was supported in that exploration. I'm 40 and still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Heck, I'm not even sure I want to grow up. I don't think you're alone there either. So I'm okay just being a human and exploring as I go and just enjoying the process as and when I can. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing that when we can be honest with ourselves about what that process looks like for us, and set aside the expectations that others might have of us, understanding that those expectations often come from like a very positive place, right? What we make more space for discovery, which in my mind is what school, what education, life, the things we learn in life even are all really about. Helping inform, you know, helping us discover, right? Write the story of our lives as we go along. And happy accidents, sometimes that fumbling and floundering that Carlos mentions is, awkward and stressful as that can be sometimes. Waiting, being in between, feeling that anxiety that sometimes, it's not easy. And as any artist out there who lived hand to mouth can probably relate more than others. It can be an uncomfortable place to sit in sometimes. Learning how to trust yourself and trust your instincts. Trust your knowledge and your knowledge of yourself. But the more you do that, the more you learn what you want to learn, what you need to build on, what gaps you want to fill. And then learning becomes fun. It becomes enjoyable. It's motivated. Aha, lovely. And Simone, there's a conversation that exactly less expectation, more joy. Or Simone responding to Brandon. And I think, again, this revisits a conversation we've been having in other groups too that return to the idea of pleasure being so important. That being able to recognize what it is that brings us joy. I don't mean it in a coaster kind of way, but like seriously, folks, what are the things that enable you to move forward? What are the things that excite you? Even, especially when you're feeling down, when you're in that darkest place. What are the things you return to again and again? What's the common ground between those things, if there are many, like myself, right? There's information that waits for you there. So being able to spend time with that and consider and reflect upon it. And you know what? I'll encourage you to do it through art. Map it out. That time you investigate, that investigation time is precious and brilliant. It's loaded with information for you. And Laura says, I'll likely never make a living at my art, but I'll never give it up. And once I retire, I doubt I'll ever be bored. Yes, true, right? My job is tough sometimes, but it is the one I need now. I know I'm lucky. And that's another interesting piece too, right? Not all of us, that idea of learning isn't always located in school. It's not always located in, a university or a college degree. Even though, I wish I had unlimited resources so I could continue going to school and learning and growing. But I don't have enough money to right now, right? So again, where do I find that knowledge? I can find it within myself, within the things I love to do. YouTube, there's lots of places to learn things, to grow. I can find it in other artists, other community members, right? Resources, human resources are everywhere. And those things help us cope or get through with the things that we have to do to make ends meet, to be able to, take care of ourselves and our loved ones and enjoy what we can in those moments, in jobs that are sometimes difficult and unrewarding. And if we can find the things that do give us pleasure within those places, those spaces, those tasks that we have to do and need to do, and even feel grateful for being able to be in a place where we have those tasks. I think that's what resiliency is about. And I think that might also kind of signal where hope is for each one of us. Does that make sense? And Nikki, revisiting that, what I was just mentioning about her, because Nikki has been in my thoughts lately. So kind of you to say, Mary, you were so kind and accepting of everyone who ever walked through the doors at the living room. Not everyone. Not everyone. You truly don't know what the studio did for me during a time when I needed a sense of belonging. Oh my goodness, Nikki. My heart, my heart, my heart. You warm my heart. I feel like it's, again, another really fascinating thing to say, because what you offered us, like what you're saying we offered you, you gave to everyone else you came into contact with at the studio, through the studio. And helped to enrich us further by connecting us with resources that could help us grow and serve and work with more people. And the cycle continues. Isn't it interesting? We often give what we hope to get from other people. Something there, I think. Laura saying, I have a drill and sockets. I love deconstruction as much as building and making. That is true. Sounds like I might have to call you to help us with the bus sometime. Nicole saying, I've never done a spiral before, so I'm going to try it out. Yes, wonderful. And even though I wasn't intending to spend as much time on this spiral as I am right now, I'm actually loving it. I'm digging it. We had conversations about spirals, sort of metaphorical art therapy inspired conversations about whether spirals signal good things, bad things. You know what? A spiral is just lines on paper. And you can, or, other things too. Spirals can be made out of lots of different things. I've got some cord here, which I could make a spiral with as well. But I like the spiral when it's drawn. I like that when it's being shaped by hand. I like the relationship that the lines have with one another. I kind of, in my mind, I imagine them talking to one another and dancing with one another, bumping into one another. There's a relationship between them there. It just makes me happy. You know what I don't have in here? I don't have purple yet. Let's get some purple. And let's see. And Nicole also says, a few days ago I finished making a tiny chili pepper, a tiny crocheted chili pepper. That sounds amazing, Nicole. Is it on your Instagram? Folks, Nicole has a really cool Instagram if you want to follow it. And Brandon's saying, yes, as so many activities use a lot of the same skills. So again, that revisits that conversation about how things overlap and complement one another, that learning, whatever form it takes, is never wasted. Always helps us expand, grow, informs everything we do and how we do it. Nicole says, I was wondering, does anyone here have a Kindle? I'm trying to decide between the basic one or Paperwhite. I don't have a Kindle. I'm really lucky. I have, what's the other one? I can't remember what the other one's called, but I like it. I like it a lot. It's a lovely, beautiful thing to have. It was a gift and I treasure it. Wendy's saying, on the point of school and learning, I have gone back to school many times to change my path in life. I've been a bus driver, dental assistant jobs are just a few jobs I have done. In the last few years, I worked with children with special needs in different settings, which is where I had started after high school, now trying to be an artist and make that my business. It all has shaped me into the person I am today, and I would never have changed it, even if I could. Such a beautiful message and an affirmation of the themes that have been in today's chat. It's an interesting thing. I'll put it out there to folks like Wendy, because I think maybe, if I was wondering about in my own life where I've encountered difficulties or resistance or felt that anxiety, it's often in the transition times, which is interesting considering where we are now in the world with, the stages of things opening up again. What are the things, folks who've been through this, who've experienced, what helps you work through those transition? What helps you feel secure? And what gives you strength? What has helped you work through the difficult times, perhaps the decisions that haven't worked out as you thought they would? What would you share with someone who is maybe finding themselves in that process right now? And Courtney says, I gotta go, but everyone in this chat has been wonderful and have an awesome day. Have a wonderful and awesome day, Courtney says. So there you go. Have a wonderful and awesome day, everyone. And Nicole's saying, school helped me learn how to type, which I never would have known otherwise. Yeah, I remember typing. Well, I'm a bit older, so typing was one of those things we had to do before. I think I learned on an electric typewriter, not a computer. So that's something, right? And Wendy says, when we are open to it, learning is all around us. Hear, hear, Wendy. Oh, and Nicole has another update about what day it is. It is Happy Mac and Cheese Day, everyone. These days never fails to surprise me. And Nicole says, my spiral looks more like a poppy right now, which is cool. That's it, right? It's in, when you play with those lines and you just let them take the form they want to take, you can create really, really interesting things spontaneously. Just kind of being open to observing and noticing what form things take. And Nicole says, the colors are lovely and this is something everyone can try. A spiral, right? There's so much you can do with it. And this, for me, it's like, again, that the metaphors of the spiral shapes, but also I've been working like what I was saying, with this stuff over here, this cord I've been making out of fabric scraps. And it's been making me think about things like rag rugs and, the handmade textiles that I'm sure many of us and many of our families' histories, somewhere along the line, someone made, as a floor covering, as a blanket, as just the ways we tie things together and oftentimes incorporate the circle shapes into them. There's something there that's of great interest to me. And Nicole says, apparently they're going to release a new Toonie design. What? Nicole has all the best news and updates, folks, about all the things. Keep us posted, Nicole. I want to know what goes on. I mean, are they taking away the loon from the loonie? There might be a scandal there. And replying to Wendy, Nikki says, look at your courage to try new things until you find what you love. I would agree. And maybe also, Nikki, in that it's maybe there are many loves. I think there's a courage there to follow that love and to notice what we feel passionate about. And that courage comes in making those tiny shifts, isn't it? Sometimes it's about making the tiny shifts to pursue and fulfill those passions. And maybe for some of us it is finding the one great love and being able to spend time in that place. For others, it's about balancing perhaps between all the loves. And Lottie says, I discovered writing through fumbling and floundering. Perfect, fantastic. So that's revisiting what Carlos was mentioning too, how sometimes we fall into the things we love, and without that kind of something that in one hand might be considered a mistake, we wouldn't have discovered and found, that beautiful thing like Lottie and writing. And Lottie says, that reminds me, going back to last week's chat, I mentioned that I was performing at Leeds Poetry Festival on the 25th. And according to the organizer, ticket holders will be given a link to a live stream so people who can't physically be there can still participate. There is a small fee for the tickets though, so if anybody is interested, and I have your permission to do so, Mary, can I drop a link? Absolutely. So please, Lottie, drop a link in this chat, but if you can also hang around for a little bit, I'd really appreciate it if you could put the link in the chat and the show and tell post that we do afterwards as well. And folks, if you can make it, please do. How lovely. And I imagine you'll be seeing and hearing Lottie's poetry and spoken word, but you'll also be hearing many other Leeds-based or UK-based artists share their work as well. So come on. What a wonderful event. And Simone's saying, I have to go now, but I enjoyed this important discussion about authenticity and being a lifelong learner. Also, spiraling is my new favorite thing. I added some other curvy lines beside it. We'll post after. Excellent. Enjoyed tracing the lines. Very relaxing. Well, thank you. Thank you, Simone, for that. And again, I can't take credit. This is something that I first came in contact with. I mean, spirals are a part of life. We see them in nature all the time. But it was really Linda Berry who got me into a routine of creating spirals as a part of grounding myself and focusing. So I got to give Linda, the great Linda Berry, the credit here. And I continue to evolve it and to make it my own. Because why not? And Simone says, thank you, everyone. Laura saying to us and Nicole, mac and cheese. I just bought some today, but we had it 2 nights ago. Again. Well, I don't know. I mean, not the boss of you, but if you want to have mac and cheese, every night. I mean, maybe that's not the healthiest thing, but I'm not gonna shame you for that. It feels good. And replying to Laura, Nicole says, yeah, we had it last night. So something about mac and cheese in the air. And lovely, Nikki answering that question, responding to that question I asked about transitioning between things, how you can do it, how you can feel your way through that. Nikki says, what helped me was my happiness meter. I'm liking that. When I was unhappy doing a job or something that brought my happiness level down, that made me less energized. I know I need to change. Sometimes I had trouble doing that due to my earning money, but in the end, I could not do it anymore and went back to art or creativity. That's, the happiness meter, right? It doesn't always have to be about living with less either. I think there is, I did a disservice there perhaps earlier when I equate happiness with maybe not having as much money, because there's nothing saying that you can't earn a decent, good enough living or more than good enough living doing what you love. I think for some of us, there may be more struggles there. There may be a little few more obstacles to that kind of level of things. But again, I think the important thing that really stood out for me and stands out for me in what Nikki's saying is doing your best to not compromise that happiness. To find ways of, and what Laura said earlier as well, balancing what you need to do, what you need to have, with what you want and can have, what is possible for you. And if we do our best to be mindful of that as we're learning, as we're growing, as we're working, I feel like we stumble and fumble towards new and exciting things, to borrow a phrase from Carlos and Lottie. And you never know where that wonderful information is going to come from, right? Nicole says they're changing it temporarily like they do with special quarters. Oh, the loonie, that's right. Oh, so it'll be a special, one-of-a-kind, special limited edition loonie. Good to know. So for folks who are watching, if you may not know what we're talking about when we're talking about the loonie, it's the Canadian dollar that is a coin, and it has a loon on one side. So it just started, I don't know why people started calling it a loonie, to tell you the truth. No idea. Some research there for someone if you're excited to dig into that. And Glenn, hello Glenn, welcome. Oh, so good to see you here. Glenn says, very therapeutic to watch this, Mary. But I guess art therapy is something you know a little about. a little. But I think we all have some kind of understanding that creativity, when we give ourselves space to make whatever it is we like to make, right? It doesn't always have to be visual art. It can be gardening, it can be baking, fermenting, sculpture, making music, organizing. I think organizing is a creative thread that runs through that as well. I need to learn a little bit more about that, I think, in my own life. But there's creativity everywhere if we're open to it in everything that we do. And I think if we can tap into that at the same time as doing whatever it is we're doing, then our happiness meter goes up, right? I used to love customer service and some of the Joe jobs that I've had over time. As an actor, you have a lot of those Joe jobs. And I think one of my favorite things was looking at the art of engaging with people as an art. So it wasn't just a conversation I was having with a customer. I wasn't just providing them with customer service. I was there was an opportunity to experience something unique or authentic with this human being, even if it was just for a moment. And that is something super special, I think. If you can discover the art in whatever it is you're doing, whenever it is you happen to be doing it, whether you're having a good day or a bad day, there's always art involved in whatever we do. And if you can tap into that, I think it makes a difference. So experiment. A challenge to everyone who's out there. Discover the art in whatever it is you do and see if you can become a little more mindful of that when you're doing it, and see if it shifts those moments when maybe you're struggling or don't feel like doing the thing you're doing. If you can discover the art or the creativity in that, let me know what impact it has on your happiness meter. And Nikki's saying, you are so right, Mary, not just one love, but lots of different loves, like Lottie with the writing. Exactly. I think each one of us, there's so many things we love to do. And even if we are in one profession or one career path, like seemingly so from the outside, I still think we implement so many different things in whatever it is we do. There are many loves sandwiched and packed all into one. And then we might hop onto a different island of love and experience that for a little while. Well, maybe I should, never mind. That's for another day. Thinking about islands and art. Wendy's saying, when going through a big transition, and Nikki honoring that, oh yes, I am a therapist, although I'm an art therapist, although I tend to, these days, it's a complicated relationship, and I do lean into the world. I tend to describe myself as a social arts practitioner or a social practice artist. Yeah, a conversation for another day, but it's, maybe it's the actor in me. I get a little restless with any one name. I like to wear many different hats, many different roles. And Wendy's saying, when going through a big transition, oh, lovely, I have learned through very many that if you make sure your basic needs are met, it is easier to open your eyes to the choices that are there. In knowing all my choices, I can make a choice with more confidence. That is brilliant. You know what? And I have to just acknowledge again, like what you've highlighted there for me as well, Wendy, is kind of that note of privilege as well. Because I've always thought of freedom as something, freedom is often, it's people think of freedom in many different terms, but for me, freedom is when you have choice, when you have more than one choice. Because if you can only do one thing and that's the only thing that's available to you, there is no choice. So having more like than one, having a choice, having hopefully more than one choice, it can be liberating. It has a sense of freedom to it. So knowing what those choices are and having those basic needs met, knowing that you're safe, knowing that you're as safe as you can be, knowing that you have food, that you have support, that you have, each one of us, I think those basic needs might look a little different depending on where we're at in our lives. But if we have a way of meeting those basic needs, then there will be oftentimes more than one choice that we can draw from. So bringing up a really interesting point about where confidence comes from as well. And it's an interesting conversation. So what can we do to increase the opportunities for people and the privileges? Or what is privilege? And what can we do to create more equity for everyone so that those basic needs are met for everyone, for all of us? Because I think, society, as we like to call it, I think that's where we begin to grow, to improve in all facets, right? Oh, such an interesting conversation brought up there. But definitely confidence and having an opportunity to step back and look at your choices, examine and make a choice. That you'll never be trapped, I think. Maybe that's part of it too. That making a choice, even if it's not exactly the right choice, even if it takes you somewhere surprising, that you're still moving forward. Again, I think I've talked about that before too. Even if you fall on your face, at least you fall forward, right? I've fallen forward on my face many times. Oh, Lottie, thank you. Lottie says, absolutely no problem. I'll pop it in the show and tell too. I think the tickets, we're talking about the tickets for the Leeds Poetry Festival, maybe $12 in Canadian currency. Don't hold me to that. We won't, but thank you for making that that translation, I guess. Thank you so much. And we'll be at 1:30 to 3:30 our time, so Eastern Standard Time, I think. And there's the link, lovely. So the link is there to, oh, this looks lovely, to the Leeds Poetry Festival. Folks, if you can check it out, please do so if you can attend. Lovely. And it's in the afternoon, so it's a time that works well for us folks over here in North America as well. Thank you so much. And the history of the loonie. Revisiting the history of the loonie. Let me just have a little quick, I'm just going to take, boop, boop, just have a little close-up of that spiral I was working on. Turned out kind of nice. I kind of dig it. I do. I haven't colored in a spiral for a long time, but I'm really enjoying it. Lovely. And now I'll move on to something else maybe. But yeah, why is the loonie called a loonie? Maybe because the coin has a loon on it, Nikki says. I think that might be it. And Nicole's saying, just another update about something fabulous. There's a new Pixar movie they've announced called Seeing Red. It's going to take place in Toronto. Wow, look at that. I think for Canadians, it's always surprising when culture decides to focus and actually acknowledge where it takes place in Canada. It's always an interesting thing to see that happen. It's exciting for Canadians anyways. And definitely, I imagine, exciting for Torontonians in this case. And Nicole says, apparently, here we go, more Toonie history. The Toonie Design will celebrate the 80th anniversary of the invention of plexiglass. Oh, okay. All right. And the 130th anniversary of basketball, which are Canadian inventions. So plexiglass and basketball on the loonie. Fair enough. I wonder how you celebrate the invention of plexiglass. What image do you use for plexiglass? Could be nothing. It could just be like nothing, like you're looking through a window, I suppose. Yeah. Well, I'm sure it'll be beautiful no matter what. And Lottie said, I forgot to add that my performance is The Lauders. Is that how you say it? The Lauders, featuring special guest Maria Ferguson. So exciting. So is this, it sounds like it might be a performance, specifically your performance with this wonderful other performer. Lovely. Guest Maria Ferguson. I'll have to check out Maria Ferguson as well. Thank you so much. And folks, if anyone else has events that you'd like to share, please do. It can be links to anything, to Etsy shops, to performances that are coming up. Shine a light on what you do, if you want to. Know that you can. And, oh, lovely. So Nicole just shared a link to that news about the loonie. Fantastic. And Laura's saying, basketball backboards. Now, Laura, is that you getting excited about another art creation? I know you are a wonderful upcycler and you transform all these awesome things. And basketball, I guess the backboards would make, well, yeah, that would be good. Oh no, that's a good image, I think, for a loonie is what you're saying. Yeah, no, that would be good. The basketball image, there's lots of things you can do with that on a loonie. I guess I'm excited to see what they do with plexiglass. So folks, it is 3:13. My goodness. I have a choice right now. I can move on to another project using this wonderful cord that I've been making over the last couple of weeks. Or perhaps I can do something on the back of my spiral. I've been working on this for, like kind of it's a in front of the TV kind of job that is just really, I'm finding really relaxing and really grounding. Where's the end? Basically taking leftover scraps of fabric and twisting and tying them together to create cord. And I'd like to do something with the cord. And I'm flirting with the idea of incorporating it into some kind of macrame, something, maybe weaving it into a bowl. I was going to make a necklace with it today, but again, just on that note of kind of feeling in tune, recognizing, noticing what you're feeling like and not feeling like, that's not, I like the idea, but it doesn't feel right now. It doesn't feel like something I want to start and leave off. So I'm going to set that aside if you don't mind, and then perhaps I'll come back to that in another week, although it's really relaxing to twist and turn, twist and turn. And you can just create this twine for yourself, this fabric twine. See, yeah, see how easy, and it's just relaxing. Again, your hands might begin to ache for a little bit, so take breaks. But yeah, something really fun that I've been doing, but it doesn't feel right now, so I'm going to put that aside. And what I'd like to do is work on the back of this. What should I do? I feel like I want to respond to the conversation we've been having. I want to somehow artfully encapsulate it. What have I got on hand here? I've got some collage stuff off to the side here. I've got some oil pastels. So let's play with that a little bit. Because this has been, what a wonderful conversation to emerge. About learning, about growth. Yeah. About trusting. I think we learn how to trust our instincts. We learn what our instincts are as we move forward. As the more we learn, the more we experience. And I suppose we learn how to trust our instincts once we're aware of those things. It's definitely a journey. And if we never make mistakes, if we never question things, perhaps we miss out. Perhaps it's not necessarily a good thing, right? Because as we make mistakes and as we try things that don't work out and discover what does work out and learn more about what we love, we're exercising something there. We're building a particular kind of muscle, aren't we? A resilience muscle. So for those folks who haven't had opportunities, who haven't encountered whatever we might call it, doubt or uncertainty, or haven't experienced something not working out for them in the way they originally hoped. I mean, it's wonderful. If you're the person out there, if you're a person where everything has always worked out, if that's what your life has been more often than not, how wonderful is that? Everything just working out. But I think there's something really exciting and human, the human experience, in taking those risks, those, creative risks in order to learn more about who we are and what we want in our lives, learning from the people we bump up against along the way. There's something really beautiful in that. And every time we bump into someone, perhaps we take a little bit of them with us. Like me with you, with all the community. So the creation of who I am has everything to do with every single person I've ever met. Every person I've encountered has been woven into this thing that is called Mary. And even those folks that have been, I've had very difficult relationships with. So I feel like there's something to honor there. In that journey. And being open to the work in progressness that each one of us are and is. And Carlos saying, yes, yay to safe mistakes and learning as we go. And that is important too, like taking risks, safety first, right? And of course, being able to needing sometimes to consider not just our own safety, but the safety of those we love that are around us. So Carlos says, yay to safe mistakes and learning as we go. It's like when you're gaming and gaining new experience points to level up. Oh, I love this metaphor. Not a gamer myself, but I love this metaphor. Or analogy? Analogy or metaphor? So, gaining new experience points to level up doesn't have to lock us into one skill set. If anything, it can open up a plethora, Carlos loves that word, of possibilities. It's kind of beautiful. Scary at times for sure, but beautiful. And that's, that's part of what adds the beauty to life. We persevere and we try new things and we discover and learn, make mistakes. And every relationship gives us something new. Dan saying, thanks, Mary. And I mean that might mean that Dan needs to go. If you need to go right now, we're nearing the end. It's almost 3:30. And folks, if you've got somewhere to be or something to do, I'm not the boss of you. Do what you need to do. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for contributing to this afternoon, to this virtual art hive, to weaving, being open to weaving yourself into my experience in this way. For those of you who maybe just been watching and listening, thank you for being out there too. And to everyone who watches once this has been archived, I know I can't respond to you in the same way that I respond to people here, but you're still a part of this experience. There's an awareness of you being out there, so thank you. And Carlos says, life, let's see if I gotta click, come on, there we go. Life isn't a box of chocolates, it's a salad buffet. Healthy. We enter with a plate, and as we go down the line, we borrow what we need, what is offered from others' plates to meet our nourishment. We then can offer from our own plate to others that request it or need it. Beautiful. How well said. That is so perfectly well said. It's a salad buffet. It is a salad buffet. Now, I'm the person in the salad buffet that usually takes the most unhealthy things like the garlic croutons and the fake bacon bits. So depending on, what's on my plate on every given day, someone might want to go to someone who has all those, fresh and tasty greens. But I still love that way of looking at life, that we go along and we gather what we need. And as we gather what we need, we have more to share with others if they want it or need it. There's more there to offer. It's a beautiful thing. And Nikki, you know what? Yeah, Nikki agrees, I think. Replying to Nicole. That's nice. Well, I think maybe that's about the loony. And then replying to Carlos, love this. So Carlos, again, thank you for sharing. See, you've inspired and influenced others. And I think everyone who's been here today has done a little bit of that. I'm always so appreciative of this time and this space, folks. You know that. It's a special time that I get to have with you, and it will probably continue even when we can connect with one another again in person. Good to know. Carlos says, I'm totally with you there on the food choices, Mary. Good to know I'm not the only person sneaking the unhealthy stuff from that salad buffet. And you know what? Yeah, I think it tracks with life as well, We don't always make the healthiest choices, but as long as they're safe choices, we can still learn from them. And even, sometimes when it's not so safe, we learn from them as well. But hopefully they're safer, happier choices that help us move forward or fall softly on our faces so that we can move forward. Folks, what a pleasure it's been hanging out with you today. I love this piece that I'm creating with y'all. Come on, pastel. On one side, I have a spiral. Perhaps I call it what? I feel like this is a spiral of life, isn't it? This is a spiral of journeys, of different things we go through on our journeys. And then this side just feels like a response to everything folks have offered. This to me feels like a pool that I'm looking into. Some kind of reflection of what everyone has given me over time. The colors, a blanket of loveliness that I can cuddle under sometimes and share with others if they need it from time to time. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. And let's take another little close-up here. So there's this. Let's see. And then there's that. I think there's a lot that they have in common. There's a lot that they share, but two very different stories for me, in a way. Everyone, thank you so much. I've had a lovely afternoon. I hope you have too. Wherever you happen to be in the world, thank you for joining us. If you're joining the live stream after it's finished, thank you for joining us. Thank you. I hope you're able to enjoy and gather up whatever you need to help you through. Maybe things that to inspire you in your art, but also perhaps things that might inspire you in your life, the art of your life. If you have any other thoughts that you'd like to share with us and about this, please feel free. You can do it here in the thread after this has been archived, but you can also share any thoughts about the conversations we've had today in our show and tell post, which goes up. I try to get it up a few minutes after the live stream has ended. And that's a place where people can show pictures or images of what they've been working on, links to other exciting things that are going on, like Lottie's Poetry Spoken Word Festival. You can share your Etsy shops, you can share your blogs or Tumblrs, shine a light on what you do if you're feeling like it. And it's also a place for us to perhaps inspire one another through sharing those things, but also works in progress. Feel free to share images of stuff that works, stuff that doesn't work, whatever it might be. And of course, we'll be back with other cool things throughout the week. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., we have our Writers Workshop Zoom room. So for all the folks who are interested in creative writing out there, this is a course, not a class. It's like a co-creation experience where we come together to write and to explore writing techniques or exercises that help shake things up for us so that we can write. Tomorrow it's going to be hosted or facilitated by me. And I focus a lot on, simple exercises that anyone can do to spark their writing, to get things moving if you're feeling stuck. And next week, Danielle Derbert, one of our fantastic social service worker students who's now graduated, is continuing to host the Writers Workshop as well. And Danielle often works with themes, so we each week come back to do a little more serious, in-depth writing. So tomorrow morning, Thursdays at 10 a.m., that's when we have our writer's room, so feel free to join us then. And tomorrow night, our Thursday night live stream art hangout, which normally takes place on Facebook, it's going to be happening on Instagram this week with the fabulous Andres Musta, also known as Zombie Art Squad, doing a live stream takeover on our Instagram channel. So 7 p.m., if you're out there and you're interested, tune in on Instagram to see Andres do his fantastic stuff. It could be some street art, it could be some print making, some sticker making with his lino cutting techniques. He might be spinning some tunes. I don't know. It's going to be so exciting. Andres is such a fantastic creator. I don't know what he's going to be doing. So tune in tomorrow, Thursday at 7 p.m. to see. Every Thursday night, we have another artist in the community do a little takeover, either on our Facebook page or our Instagram in this case, to share some of their creativity with the world and remind folks about what's out there and who's out there. If you're interested in hosting a Thursday night live stream for us, reach out. Let me know. I'd be happy to have you. Okay? So just send us an email or send us a message, but email is probably better. info@livingroomcommunityartstudio.org. So thanks so much, everyone. Oh, it's so lovely. I'm seeing such lovely, lovely things. Oh, wow. Well, thank you, folks. A lot of people saying so happy. So Nikki's saying so happy to hear all the positive comments in our art community. Laura's saying this was lovely. Thanks so much. Nikki's saying, oh, yeah, Nikki likes the unhealthy choices I have and Carlos on our salad plates as well. Unhealthy isn't necessarily bad for you, right? I mean, chocolate isn't bad for you. I'd go to a chocolate salad bar. If I had a choice, that's what I would do. I'm just saying. And Lottie saying thank you. And Carlos saying those art sessions sound amazing. Thanks so much for this afternoon, Mary. This has been awesome. Thanks to everyone else, to else, whether involved in the conversation or whether just watching, I hope you all have a great and safe week. And thanks again. High fives unto the all with consent from Carlos. So if you need a high five from Carlos, feel free to take one. Wendy's saying thank you as well. And thanks again to everyone who might be out there watching and listening now, or watching or listening later. I appreciate you more than you know. Thank you for all you are and all you do in the community. You are enough just as you are. I appreciate you so much. Nikki saying chocolate grows on trees. It has to be good for you. Oh, dark chocolate is quite good for you too. Okay, see folks, we're ending on a chocolate note today. I think I need some right now. I might go find some. But thank you for being here, everyone. And until we can connect and create with one another again in person, I look forward to connecting and creating with you right here online. See you again soon, folks. Bye.